The Hawthorne Effect is one of the most fascinating discoveries in the history of human behavior and management research. It is named after the famous experiment conducted at the Western Electric Factory in Hawthorne, Chicago during the 1920s. Although the initial purpose of the experiment was to study the impact of lighting on workers' productivity, the results brought an unexpected discovery. Workers became more productive simply because they knew they were being observed. In the experiment, researchers varied the lighting levels in the factory, hoping that the changes would influence workers' productivity. However, the results showed that productivity increased not only when lighting conditions were improved, but also when lighting was reduced. Even more strangely, the workers' performance continued to improve even when the lighting conditions remained unchanged. The researchers realized that the crucial factor was not the lighting itself, but the workers' awareness that they were being observed. This discovery led to a new concept in human behavior research. When people are aware that their actions are being observed, they tend to work harder and more efficiently. This is the essence of the Hawthorne Effect. Observation, whether real or simply the feeling of being observed, can motivate individuals to work harder and improve their performance. So why does something as simple as observation lead to significant changes in behavior and productivity? The answer may lie in human nature. We often feel a sense of responsibility and a desire to perform better when we know we are being watched. This opens up a discussion on how to apply this effect in different environments, such as workplaces, schools, and even in our daily lives. In the 1920s, when researcher Elton Mayo and his team conducted an experiment at the Western Electric Factory in Hawthorne, Chicago, they had no idea that the results of this study would drastically change the way we understand the relationship between work environment and labor productivity. The initial goal of the experiment was to study the effect of lighting changes on workers' productivity. The researchers conducted several tests with lighting, increasing the light for one group of workers, reducing it for another, and keeping a third group working under normal lighting conditions. They expected that the lighting levels would directly affect the workers' productivity. However, what happened was not what they had anticipated. Regardless of how the lighting was adjusted, the productivity of the workers consistently improved throughout the experiment. This outcome was a major surprise, leading the researchers to reconsider what factors were truly affecting the workers' productivity. After careful analysis, they realized that the increase in productivity wasn't due to changes in lighting, but because the workers were aware they were being observed. This discovery became one of the most significant findings in human behavior research. Despite little change in physical conditions, the workers' awareness that they were being watched created an invisible motivation that led them to work more efficiently. Mayo and his team realized that the factor of awareness of observation had a profound impact on human behavior. When workers knew they were being observed, they felt more responsible and strived to complete their tasks to the best of their ability, as they wanted to perform well in the eyes of the supervisors. Additionally, in later rounds of the experiment, the researchers discovered other interesting factors. One key finding was the change in the relationship between workers and supervisors. When supervisors paid attention to their work, the workers felt respected and appreciated, which created a more positive work environment. These small changes in supervision had a significant effect on improving labor productivity. However, what was particularly noteworthy was that the effect of supervision did not simply stem from the presence of the observer, but from the psychology of the observed individual. Researchers coined this phenomenon the Hawthorne Effect, and the term is now used to refer to the changes in human behavior when individuals are aware they are being observed, even if the observation is not always a reality. The Hawthorne Effect highlights that people tend to alter their behavior and work more effectively when they feel they are being cared for and monitored. Although the Hawthorne Effect was discovered in an industrial factory in the 1920s, its impact remains incredibly strong and can be widely applied in modern life. From the workplace to educational settings, and even in personal relationships, this effect not only improves productivity, but also creates a positive work environment that encourages initiative and enhances the quality of work. In organizations, the Hawthorne Effect can be used to boost employee productivity. Studies have shown that when employees know they are being observed or monitored, they tend to work more efficiently. This explains why companies often use performance monitoring tools such as progress reports, check-in meetings, or task management software. However, it's not just about surveillance. Genuine and regular interest from managers in the work of their employees can also lead to significant improvements in performance. A compliment when an employee completes a task well, or a constructive conversation about ways to improve performance can create a strong motivation to work harder and even increase employee loyalty to the organization. The Hawthorne Effect can also bring about positive changes in education. When students are aware that they are being monitored, they tend to be more diligent and focused on their studies. Teachers can apply this effect by regularly paying attention to and assessing student progress, or by organizing regular assessments so students feel more responsible for their learning. Additionally, organizing group activities, projects, or online classes where students know their work will be observed and evaluated can strengthen their motivation to learn. A typical example is the implementation of continuous assessment for learning instead of just final exams. The Hawthorne Effect is not only useful in the workplace or education, but can also be applied in personal relationships. For example, in family or friendships, the feeling of being cared for and paid attention to can foster connection and encourage positive behaviors. When someone knows their actions are being observed or appreciated by others, they often tend to behave better. This is especially true in relationships between partners or family members, where every action and attitude can influence the development and bonding of the relationship. A word of encouragement from a partner or family about the good things you've done can motivate you to continue acting positively and more devotedly. The Hawthorne Effect also has a powerful influence on how organizations build a work culture. Businesses can apply the principles of this effect by creating a work environment where employees feel constantly evaluated and valued. This can be achieved through employee surveys, information sharing sessions, or group discussions. Furthermore, applying the Hawthorne Effect in organizations helps foster creativity and improvement in work. When employees feel they are being observed and that their value is being recognized, they are more likely to proactively generate new ideas and contribute positively to the overall development of the organization. The Hawthorne Effect, first observed in the 1920s, may seem like a simple concept. Individuals work more efficiently when they know they are being observed, but its implications are profound and far-reaching. It highlights a fundamental aspect of human behavior. We tend to perform better when we believe our actions are being monitored or evaluated, even if the observation is not overt or constant. The understanding of this effect can serve as a powerful tool in a wide range of settings, from work environments to educational institutions and even in our personal lives. While the Hawthorne Effect emphasizes the positive impact of observation on behavior and performance, it also raises important considerations about the balance between motivation and pressure. In a work environment, for example, constant observation may lead to stress, burnout, or feeling of being under a microscope, which could ultimately reduce the benefits of the effect. It's crucial to maintain a healthy balance, using the effect as a tool for constructive engagement rather than as a source of undue pressure. The power of awareness. The awareness of being observed can be a strong motivator, leading to increased effort, attention, and performance. However, it's important to ensure that this awareness doesn't lead to negative consequences like anxiety or overexertion. Fostering positive environments, both in the workplace and in education, creating an environment where individuals feel that their efforts are recognized and valued, can encourage greater commitment and productivity. It's not just about surveillance. It's about fostering a sense of being seen and appreciated. Long-term effectiveness. While the immediate effect of increased productivity due to observation is clear, it's important to consider how sustainable this motivation is. Over time, the novelty of being observed might wear off, requiring new methods of engagement and support to maintain high levels of performance. Reflecting on the Hawthorne Effect, you might wonder, how can I apply this in my own life? Whether you're a manager looking to improve your team's performance, a teacher aiming to inspire your students, or simply someone trying to stay motivated in daily tasks, the principles of the Hawthorne Effect can be a valuable tool. The next time you feel like you're losing motivation, ask yourself, what would change if I knew someone was paying attention to my progress or caring about my work? It's not about constant scrutiny, but rather about fostering a culture of recognition and care. As a manager, a teacher, or even in your personal relationships, creating an environment where people feel supported and valued can lead to better outcomes for everyone involved.